Good evening, everybody. How are you all? I hope you are having a nice Saturday evening. I wanted to do a talk on how do we be strong mentally. We are really reacting to mental problems or no mental problems or life events. We kind of react very violently sometimes and really lose all our cool and nerve when something happens, right? Uh, but to achieve anything, to withstand anything, you need that core of mental strength within, right? A lot of people find in other people, or a lot of people find in some sayings that they remember, or they pray God, or anything like that. But at a human level, what is mental strength? How can we nurture that? How can we really be focused on that? I was going to tell you something about Bruce Lee, how he was really having a phenomenal mental strength and uh, achieved everything that he wanted to achieve before he died untimely. Hi, Nazli. So it's a kind of understanding how he did what he did, and also I'm going to get a couple of quotes from a philosopher and also a sage, and see how they guided me about my uh, mental strength. To encounter situations in life, right? So recently, Bruce Lee's daughter, she came on the TV and she was talking about his dad, her dad. I'm sorry, her dad, and she was telling about everybody says he's physically very strong. Of course, he's excellent physique, right? Chiseled body, enormous strength in his face, and enormous. Uh, ability to throw people for 12 feet with a simple fist going from 1 inch. He was able to throw people for 12 feet. So that's a phenomena. That's really something else with Bruce Lee, right? I was very big fan of Bruce Lee because his moves and everything. Just watching his movie, and I got energy. So it's a phenomenal person, no doubt about it. So I took interest in his life. I studied, and then from autobiographies that were published, and what has happened to him, and how he went up such a pinnacle of physical performance, and also I came to know how he developed this mental strength and able to stay with one practice and do that for several hours together, right? One of the things I always quote about him is if you look at his knuckles, they are hypertrophied because he was banging the knuckles on the bag or on the tree or on the wall all the time. And then he was banging at a pace, at a rate very high. See, he was going on practicing for several hours, even though it must have pained him, no doubt about it. But his resolve, his training was so phenomenal. So he did do that. So that's one thing. The other thing is, how did he develop that mental strength? That's what I want to address here today, because of his mental strength, because his tenacity, he was able to practice for several hours together, right? And then he was able to develop that kind of you know finesse in his technique and all that. First of all, he had a back injury at one time, and doctors said that he has damaged his back so badly that he will not be able to, let alone fight, but he won't be able to stand up and really walk on his own. But as they said immediately, he needs to have 6 months of rest in bed, right? And so obviously he's a very active guy. He doesn't want to, cannot do that, but he was forced to, right? So he was confined to home, and he was lying some time, but then he was moving in the wheelchair and all that. And what he did was he went back to really rake up all the philosophies and everything that he had studied before, because he was a philosophy major, you know. So he was into philosophy. He knew about the uh, ancient wisdom very much. So, but he wanted to revisit, and then he studied J. Krishnamurti. J. Krishnamurti is he doesn't fit into any category, but he is phenomenally respected around the world because of his unique insights. He doesn't profess any particular religion, or he doesn't profess any particular writings. You know, all he teaches is, look, you have intelligence within your own self. You know, the this superficial chatter, superficial mind, or if you are talking from conclusions that you have learned from other people's truth, then you will never be able to find your truth. So liberate your intelligence from this repeated phenomenal phonograph like mind, you know, and land yourself in the mirror of relationship, and come with originality that is coming from within your intelligence. So he was always talking about intelligence versus thought being accumulated from all the knowledge we have, all the books, all the religions, or all the traditions. Anything traditional knowledge, he kind of said, that's kind of dead and not yourself. It's not your intelligence. Okay, somebody might have wrote about something because they perceived the truth by themselves and then wrote it down, and you are repeating their words is not your truth, and you get to find it by yourself, you know. So that was really for people who want to think for themselves and not to be slave of any guru or any religion, any faith, any writings or books or anything like that. Okay, it's a phenomenal thing even to understand him, you know. People used to go to him 20 30 years, and then they could not understand him because he was asking something like, don't say somebody else has anger, what are you doing with your anger, what is the instrument that you use to conquer your anger, that kind of thing. So whoever, hi Alka, whoever have listened to him, if you listen with like, I'm going to get this information and then apply the information in my life, didn't get it. But if you explore that particular whatever he is exploring at the time with your own intelligence, then you will get it. So you got to be at his level to really understand him, right? So what he said was, look, this you got to end this thought, this recurring thought, cyclical thought that's coming because you have some input of data from past, and then you are. It's okay to do the outward things. See, that was the big thing I had to understand. Him was, he was not talking about, suppose you are to go somewhere, and you need a map, you need a direction, you need a destination. That's all fine. Use the thought there outwardly, but inwardly, suppose you have anger, talking about it, thinking about it, and describing it is not going to get the anger down. But if you are aware of the anger itself, you know, it does not get any feedback, it will go down. I have done this with so many students who have come with fear or anger or emotional hurt or really feeling of betrayal. So many things happen within us, right? those emotional feelings, the more you think about it, the more it. Somebody says you are an idiot, and then that guy said one time, but then if you think on that again and again and again, then somebody slapped you, but you are slapping yourself again and again and again. That's the thing, right? So you want to see whether that what they said critically or whatever is that true or not. If you want to do something about it, it's fine. Otherwise, dump it just because they said you want to react like that. So that kind of thing. There, where the thought is needed, where thought is not needed. Really, for me, Krishnamurti is the one who showed, and he talked about perception beyond thought. There is a book, Ending of Thought, and also there is a book, Awakening the Intelligence. These two books are pretty phenomenal. You want to read them, those are the titles by J. Krishnamurti, right? He talked about perception is what is what is in front of you without any colorings from your studies, knowledge about it, or impressions about it, none of it. You just bring in your beginner's mind and look at anything with a perception. Then the perception will reveal what it is, and then you will learn what it is. What it does is it does improve your focus and your one pointedness, and also really get the gist of what you are reading or what you are thinking about, right? So ending our thought, awakening the intelligence, and with intelligence perceiving what is in front of us, that is a very nice way to be calm and quiet in your mind, but use the thought when you. One thing happened to me was when I have really developed this perceptive mind rather than cyclical mind of thinking or thoughts all the time. Um, uh, he has a book called Commentaries on Living, uh, volume 3. I think it has three volumes, volume 3. Basically what the book was about, somebody has a big problem and they come to Krishnamurti, and then he sits down with them and personally talks to them and takes them on a journey of exploration into their own insight, and then that reveals to them what the answer is. For example, there was a woman, she came to Krishnamurti. There are hundreds of talks, but I'm just going to tell you one or two. She comes to Krishnamurti and she looks sad, then he asks, oh, yes, madam, why are you sad? She tells, I have four sons. All of them, studied well and did well in their life, and they are kind of doing their jobs, so they have families and all that. But there is no greatness in them. There is nothing like working for life or doing something outside of them. It's all self-centered living, but I don't see any greatness in them. And then Krishnamurti shows her how we developed our educational system, how we kind of materialistic, consumeristic culture that is promoting only live well with enjoying some things versus thinking on a bigger scale of what's going on with the world and what is human beings interior shaping the external world, and that's why they are all caught in that, so when you raise the kid by 10 years, the kid is lost, with the same kind of conditioning. So he told her and exposes everything, and then she was able to perceive what is going on with the school, with the society, with what kind of things we promote, that kind of thing, right? Then she discovers it with himself showing the way, and she takes the journey of her own intellect going there and discovers that is the perception. It's not like he is telling these things and go, but he asks the questions such a way that she will explore her own mind and her own way of exploring the issue. So these kind of talks, I used to read and understand what he was talking about generally. One time, 4, 5, or 6 Indian kids come before they go to America, and then what he talks about Indian society, American society, that was very revealing, but I am already in America by the time. I was introduced to him in '83, and I think he died around '85 at the age of 95 or so. But he was phenomenal. I never saw him. I only heard him on the tape. But the thing was, in the morning when I did that, it became so calm and quiet. And that calm and quiet, even though I went to the clinic, I saw the patients and did, talking with people, nurses, whatever, that calmness continued to me till evening. And phenomenally, I was focused on what I'm doing. So I was very impressed with that. I didn't have to take any medication. I didn't have to go to anybody psychologist for analysis. Just by having that insights within my own mind, not information, just insight. So I think I was able to explore with him because I was also concerned world problems much before that. So that was there. Suffering, global heat, or lack of human relationships deteriorating, and also wars. All those things I used to think about, worry about. World scale problems really are things that I used to think about. Maybe that was the reason why I was able to explore the same problems he was talking about. He was very concerned about Earth, and he said, "This is Earth's or our Earth. Only one we have. We are destroying it." He used to weep about whales being killed, Amazon forest being chopped, any number. So anyway, Krishnamurti's ending of thought really worked for me, and then my mind became more intentional, focused on what do I want to do. So if I wanted to run a clinic, if I wanted to have a new one, it happened because my intention was so strong and my efforts were so focused, right? And then if I wanted to establish anything that has taken shape, I wanted to get EMR to our hospital, and I took active role in that and led them to get that, and then that happened. And so many people were opposed to that, but it happened without much conflict and all that because my will for that was so strong, so focused, and I worked with people really helped to have it manifest anything like that. So anybody can get that mental strength if you understand thought structure, when to think properly, when to end a thought and get your intelligence. We call it intuition, sixth sense, and all that. But usually we quieten that and then get into the chatter, and then we kind of put a network of thought. Krishnamurti talked about thought weaving a network by itself is very true. Once you do that, you get caught, then you become weak, right? Your thought will react for certain things certain way, and then actually uh, absorbs all the strength where you spend it out, and then you feel exhausted. So probably I was focusing everything after I was reading Krishnamurti's books and all that, and that attention to everything that happened almost all the time. And that's why I don't have much energy loss probably, and that's why I was really strong mentally. uh, Other people's words, other people saying, or some external thing didn't phase me. So maybe that's the reason. The other thing was, I was going to introduce Ramana's abide as the self. That is, self means being. See, what it is ancient wisdom can brings out this fact that we have a body, we have a mind, but we have a life force too. Without that life force within us, we don't have the animation of the body and the mind. So instead of getting stuck in the body image or mind, you get to really see who you are and perceive who you are. How do you do that? Is by just knowing that mind is nothing but a bunch of thoughts, and these thoughts come and go. So instead of being in the thoughts, he talks about being in your own being. That's why he wants you to ask, "Who am I?" And then that "Who am I?" tells you, "Am I this body?" No, this is like an inert substance. It's not that life force. It's not there. Mind, no. Like that, you go know everything. Eventually you find yourself in the dark chamber of uh, uh, inner chamber, where you have to turn your own everything inward. That is called antarmukha in Sanskrit. So you just have to turn yourself inward without any particular theories and all that. Okay? That really, on a daily basis, when you sleep, if you sleep on negative thoughts, not good. At least positive are good. But if you sleep on no thought, that's better. But if you sleep on being, where your thought is completely quiet, that's wonderful. Okay, you got to, I mean, that's a very advanced stage, and it's not that easy. You got to uh, go through your own inner mind, deep into that. Nobody can give that to you. You got to explore and find out for yourself, but there are ways to do that. You ask, who am I? Where what am I this physical body, or mental thought, or emotions, or ego, or personality? Once you eliminate all of that, then you end up. But for that, you got to make your body quiet. You got to make your mind quiet, and then in the silence, this self is revealed like a cloud is taken off the sun. The sun self luminous. That's what happens. Once people are in there, they don't care for the external pleasures that much, external achievements and all that. But you do everything because you want to work for the welfare of the world or other people. So these two, J. Krishnamurti and Ravana Maharshi's, weight of taking you along that exploration of your own path is really, you don't have to be anybody. You don't have to be Hindu or Christian or anything. You don't have to be known as a doctor, physician, or nurse, or teacher, or what. You can do whatever you want, but then each human being has this capacity to do this inner exploration, and here have an insight. It doesn't matter, man or woman, or rich or poor. It doesn't matter, And this is a direct path. You don't have to go to so many places to do it. It's a direct path right there with you, you know. So I was very much attracted. But then, whom do I get? I get physicians, nurses, IT pros, or leaders of companies, or teachers, ordinary patients with multiple complaints. But majority of them, if you really tell them to calm their mind and do whatever treatments, whatever things we give as a medication, they work better when they calm their mind down, right? And then that's an important thing, because psychosomatic is a big component, where you have somatic illness in the body, but the thoughts that are generated because of the presence of the disease, because you know that you have got this cancer or whatever, how your mind works is an important consideration about healing, right? That everybody knows. So suppose you have a mind, okay, you take it easy, you are happy-go-lucky person, and you really don't bother that much. You let them be, we are good, something like that. Those people did well than those people who really worried a lot, and then they were not able to sleep, and they were not able to do their job, and they complicated so many problems. Even last COVID epidemic, it showed us that the people who really panicked, who really fearful, and they generated a very bad immune response within them, and then that aggravated everything, and they died because of that. Okay, so I mean that's very commonsensical. But then, this is normally we can sit down here and talk about this. Okay, I'm going to I'm going to control my mind. I'm going to be mental strong. No, mental strength doesn't happen just like that. You got to understand your condition. You got to understand how you get it. So a lot of inner work is needed for that. But once you are there, then something really catastrophic happens, like a illness, like you losing somebody, or your loved ones, or you lost your job, or you lost your marriage. Any number of things can happen, right, in life. Accident, or disease, or ending of relationships. All those things have happened. Death happens, disease happens, or losing jobs, or losing money, material things happen. How do you respond in those times? So for that, what I'm saying is, develop that mental strength from the beginning, because people neglect that. People just think, oh, if I'm sad or something, I'm going to the therapist, or if I'm really feel unhappy, I will go to the friend or somebody. No, find the strength within yourself. It is there. That is my point. You can use the services if you want, but don't rely on them completely. They can guide you probably to be strong, to be analyzing all, but more and more going inward gets you more and more strength to deal with external catastrophes. That's the point I was making. And there are uh, uh, teachers like J. Krishnamurti, or Ramana Maharshi, or Eckhart Tolle. Any number of people are there. But only look at one thing. If somebody tells you, I am going to be your guide, I'm going to be your boss, you have to come to me again and again, that's not it. But if that person leads you toward your inner self, inner being, by yourself, then that is a true guru. He doesn't have to be important. He doesn't have to be like saying you have to worship me and all that. All he is interested is discover your own self, so that you will be strong from within by yourself. That's very difficult to get the people. That's why you embark on that journey by yourself. Don't accept anybody, but first listen, though. Listen, and then reflect on that, investigate that, doubt it, and all that. Out of that, you develop this capacity to investigate your own self, how you are doing. This is why they said, if you see yourself in life, in the mirror of life, that means something happens, and then how you are reacting to that, how, what is so even simple conversation, you have conversation, somebody is have a different mindset and they believe something different, they come and they say to you, do you want to defend yourself, or do you want to fight with them to show that you know better? There, that shows you that you are egotistical. It is you important, not the truth that is being revealed. So then you can see yourself being egotistical, and they say, okay, I'm going to take a sit back and then reflect on this and see how I can be better than this. And that kind of reflection helps you to grow from that conversation. Understand? So it's an important thing to see yourself in the mirror of relationship with the world, with your own aspirations, your own institutes, your own relationships, your own friendships. All those things are a mirror for you to see who you are. Okay, and that will be lifelong learning, but you will transform yourself without being a slave to anybody. Okay, so that's one thing uh, these great sages talked about, great teachers talked about. Krishnamurti used to say, small thing happens, then if somebody says something, we get go to pieces. How strong you are then. So a catastrophe happens, like an earthquake, and you get so fearful, then it will be seen on your face, and also that will be evidence. Natural events, at least that justified that you are fearful, but psychological fear is where there is no real danger or anything, then you develop them, right? So those kind of insecurity, for example, or fear, or jealousy, any of those things, they will reveal you who you are. So uh, mental strength comes not just thinking over it. Mental strength comes from having insight into the event, and then really settling down in our being, and then not using the thought, but using the strength that is behind that. Okay? So if you get caught in the network of thought, you are lost. That is what is happening with many people that I treat. They are they are in that. You see, you remember I told you about five layers of the body: the physical layer, energy layer, mental layer, intellectual layer, and causal layer, where the genes and all that. The mental layer is something modern people get caught, because everything is mental all the time, right? So the more we weave that network of thoughts, the very difficulty to get rid of it. So use the thought intentionally, not allowing the thought to be cyclical. Same thing coming again, again, again. That is the thing. Especially when something challenging comes in our life, then we need to be stable and we need to use all our energies to solve the problem. But if you deplete yourself with this unnecessary thinking that's not going to go anywhere, basically worry or anxiety, all these things are cyclical thoughts. Depression, negative thought, but in a cyclical way, deeper and deeper it goes, and then becomes you more and more depressed. Anxiety and cyclical thought, worry, all this is a negative thought going forward. What is going to happen? Fearful of what is going to happen, even though you are in the present, nothing happened. Um, I had a conversation the other day when my son came to visit us. He and his sister had a tiff, and they were not on walking terms, talking terms. Actually. I was surprised. He told me that. He told me that, and he feels bad about it. Then I said, when did this happen? A few weeks ago. Is it happening now? No. Just I told him, then be here now. What is? Why are you digging into that again? And that one question, is it here now happening, kind of made him realize, yeah, it is already gone. It is nothing important. So why do I am wasting my time? And he immediately went to our room, and then they became friends, and they were okay, all right. So it's the ability to see what is happening in front of us, perceive that, and then respond to it. Don't react emotionally all the time. But important things, okay. But even small things also people make. Like teenagers at that age, they don't know they do. But then grown-up people do that all the time, because they have developed this separate ego personality, and they think that is them, and they want to defend that. So actually, that's once you perceive yourself, you see how not real that is. So it's like a shadow. Okay? Persona is nothing but mask. Okay, you are identifying with the mask rather than with yourself, who is really behind it. Okay, so mental strength comes of knowing how to properly use thought for external things, but not relying on it for inner things. Mental strength comes from being rooted in your real self, who you are, the being, the life force within, and then using the instruments of mind, body, all that. Bruce Lee did that. What he did was he formulated some goals, and then he was very intentionally applied everything towards those goals, and so he achieved wonderful practice, and then he achieved excellence in his craft, and then used the craft to become actor and produce movies that become worldwide, and then he wrote the whole paragraph. I'm going to be this, I'm going to be this, I'm going to make $10 million, and then he made all of them within 2 years. So, what is phenomenal about it is his clear, specific goals that he wanted, and then this confidence, self confidence, and then being really focused on that, and then not getting distracted, because he has a mind that is pretty strong. on that only. Even if you take it, most of the people don't achieve what they want to achieve because they change the goals every day. They don't have a real purpose in life, and they could change the goals every day. And also, even if they want to start something that is to be done every day, and they start, something else comes, somebody else has, and then they get distracted. So that's why they may have done a degree at the time they needed to. That's why they did. After that, they lose the focus. They lose the purpose. If the purpose is just to enjoy yourself, be pleasurable, and all that, that's very tiny thing in life, right? Then you have to find some meaning, some purpose, but how strong are you staying with that? Whatever you resolve, that's important. You can grow out of it, or you can say something better. That's different, but not having any goal, wherever, whatever takes, that's the problem. So I really think we could really use mental strength in so many situations and develop yoga practice. By the way, for me, it gave the bodily tenacity, strength, and also practicing the breathing exercise gives my energy very well. But then the focus is always in Sanskrit, Atma Mokshardham. That means moksha means liberating our own mind so that we are really in touch with your Atma. That is the soul, that is our real self, that's the life force, I call it. Once you are in that, then you don't need external things for your happiness, joy, or peace, anything. They are peace. That is the happiness. That is so. You can enjoy a small thing with people, but you don't crave for them. You don't really go after them greedily and all that. So it becomes much more easy to laugh it out like a child. You like ice cream and you'll cry if it's not given. But later on, if it is there, you enjoy. If it's not there, okay, oh, okay, I'll take it like next time. You go casually because you have developed, you have experienced, but then you are not caught with that, and you that is a thing that we learn in yoga to pratyahara, like withdrawal of senses also from that. And then control of the senses, control of the mind happens very easily because you are in awareness all the time, right? So in that awareness is quite calm and really tranquil solitude of mind, which you can use it when you want. Otherwise, it is in its place. Ego in its place, that kind of thing. Then you are strong. You are sleeping well. You don't have this cyclical thought bothering you. But when you have problems, you use the thought, focus it, and resolve them, and then finish it up. So that kind of thing, if you can develop, then you will be mentally very strong, very focused. So you are in your purpose. Then what happens with the Atma Mokshadam, because your mind is liberated, or you are liberated from the mind, you can use the mind properly. Then what you do, Jagat Hitaya Cha, you go and work for the welfare of the world. You understand? That's what the ancient wisdom showed me, which is a better way of living life for a purpose of others, helping others, and really is meaningful. It is really purposeful too. It's not accumulation of things that give you satisfaction, or you can do that, but then at some point you may feel like, oh, why am I taking away from everybody who needs? I just saw a news item on the PBS channel that there is so much food wasted. They gave the numbers, astounding numbers. All that wasted food, if you can gather, you can feed all the people of the world. And they said it's not the rich countries only that is wasting the food, it is the other countries too. So poor countries, it used to be only the rich countries have done that, but now the poor countries also. See, once you have that insight, and then in the regular life, we don't want to waste anything. We want to get only what we need, and then we don't want to go for so many different things. So all the needs, all the things that we thought life will come into perspective, and then you won't be doing anything excess. I hope I made some sense about that. Anybody has any questions or want to talk about this, please come up. So, as we see the burnout people, one of the principles that I use is uh, they are bothered by this continuous thought, basically information overload leading to many thoughts, and other people are also trying to put so many thoughts out. So they are really overloaded with work and all that, deadlines and all that. I'm talking about physicians, nurses, whom I treat, right? And then once they discover there is a serene self with us, and we kind of not touching that, but then we are kind of allowing the instrument supposed to be our servant, we made it the boss, the thought process, the thoughts and all the feelings and all. Once they discover that serene self, once they start to go in the morning and the evening, rest of the day very goes very well. Then I train them to pay attention to every action. Many make goals, but then when it comes to implementing the goals, you have a series of steps that you have to do to reach the goal. But if you are so thinking of the goal without really paying attention to what need to be done now, the steps that you checked up yourself, and that doesn't get well. So this awareness of this inner calm gives them that capacity to be attentive, to be aware what is in front of them. So this is a very important thing in the burnout coaching for me, because other people don't do that. They don't understand what is thought process, how to be, not to be in cyclical thought, all that, because it's running by its own. So these people make plans that they are not working, and that's why many people are not really um, really recovering their own strength that's there. As I said, if you calm down, stop, and then try to see what is going on within you, reflect, without really judgment, then that will be easier to go into our real self and stay there. you know Many people think this self-realization takes a lot of time. Self-realization is very difficult, only certain people. No, you may have to really avoid some uppers and downers, but you may have to make some time for yourself. You may have to create atmospheres where you can be calm, instead of don't do so many things at a time. Do one thing at a time. Separate some time for yourself, sit down and then reflect, and then go and close your eyes and take deep breaths. Your thought will be coming down, and as it really not being scattered, it is becoming more concentrated. You kind of focus on the thoughts and watch them, slow them, identify them. And it comes to one thought, then say, okay, is this a thought, negative or positive? You can see very easily. Then make an effort to see something positive around the negative thought. This is the Pratipaksha Bhavana, we call it. This is the cognitive reorganization that we do. Uh, Lots of times people do much better after that. Okay, otherwise they go deeper into negativity, and that doesn't help them at all. Okay, so if you make a room for this calming the mind, taking the deep breaths, reflecting on this, and then burying all the things that you don't need to remember. Nowadays, everything can be recorded and put. If my talk, if I want to, I'm not doing it. If I want to, I can put an author, and that will give me a transcript completely. Then I can use that for any repurpose purpose. So I don't have to write down, so I have to be with what is going on here and now. So somebody send me a message or something. Leslie. Okay, she's talking about her own emotional words. Okay. Well, that there also thoughts are there. Emotions are stronger thoughts, but much more forceful, much more powerful too. So, uh, what is the thought that is bothering you is one thing, but who is it and thinking that emotions are mine is that thought construct ego. Once you identify that, personification of the emotions as hurt for me, this ego is that is evident to you. Then if you are still hurting, that means you are still in that ego sense. What is invited here is, okay, that is there, that we built up over the years, but step into awareness of that awareness is your life force. And once you are in that awareness, then you won't react. There's nothing to react there, that is the subtlety about that. Once you understand, you can do that. Okay. All right. So another 10 minutes we can be here. So yeah, remembering the wounds is the problem. That's why that is getting reinforced. So, like I told my son, is it here now? Is it happening now? Immediately he saw he's creating himself by going into the memory of that wound. Once he understood that's all gone, that's all buried, and only I am making it alive by thinking about it, by remembering it, and which is really not needed also, because uh, forgiving and forgetting and then going somebody with a friendly gesture, or even in your own mind, somebody caused the wound and you kind of uh, forgive them and forget it, that is healthy for you, and that will not perpetuate that condition of hurting, re-hurting, and all that. So all you do is, okay, this happened long time ago, it's not here now. So that is being in the present. Living in the present is what is perceived here is the reality. What happened before was something that dead. So you don't have to um, dig it up. Okay, that's what we do. What is dead and buried, we dig it up, and then make it more go in our memory, in our mind. There's nothing like judgment just because you're, but it is a kind of suffering, right? The same with the future. Maybe we can have goals, but we should not have the fear or lack of confidence that that may or may not happen. Why are you wishing it not to happen by thinking negatively? Why can't you be positive about it and then generate the movement to achieve that? By doing what is it? See, what is the mistake here is many of these negative thoughts, either past or the future, they rob your energy. See, that is why there is a ever renewing energy is by not depleting it in engaging unnecessary thought. That's why be intentional, conscious about what you are thinking about. Don't let it color your emotions and then bring the hurt and sap the energy. So we do it very automatically because we don't pause at any time of our life, see how the ego is constructed, how it behaves, how it makes so many things different from it. Actually, at the level of that conscious being I'm talking about, the life force, we are all in only one life energy. That is for the ancient wisdom, and also now the physics is very much evident, right? If you don't really have that perception, you will never get it. But if you see it, yeah, we built it up. Actually, we are not this. That is where the self-realization. You realize what you really are. What is the life force behind all this rigmarole of the thought, and then you will land up in that. That is the self. You is already there. Nobody need to give it to you, but you have realized that it is there, not just the words, but you intuitively feel and abide in that. That is a Eckhart Tolle gave a nice definition of self-realization. He said, regaining the memory of being and Abiding is that feeling realization, not thinking realization. Feeling realization of that being, that is self realization. Beyond your thought, beyond your ego, beyond your personality, all that. Then what happens? The ego may be there, but it will be your slave, because that's not the one you are identifying with. You are identifying with your real self, you are there, and then use the ego or personality, whatever you have developed, as a not a dictator to you, but a follower, listener to you. You don't have to have many achievements to have this sense of ego. Many people don't realize that they are planted in egotistic. Who is that getting hurt again and again? That's the ego. But you are not the ego, then why do you care? That kind of things, it happens automatically. That's why the famous saying of Ramana Maharshi, that pristine self of yours, you is very simple. So all you have to do is just to go there and then do that. Okay. Okay. Then you want to mute yourself. So it's a question of realizing what is already there, and not allowing your thoughts to obstruct that. See, that's what happens. That's why religions, philosophies, everybody want you to transcend your ego to know who you are. And we make a big deal out of it. Ramana said very simple, that pristine being that we are talking about, he calls his self, bigger self, right, is very simple. Just be. But we have so many philosophies, religions, creeds, and faiths, and all these words and all that. He said, alas, it's a pity. Truly, it is a pity, because once you have all these things that are covering the self, you're taken away, you have a sculpture of Michelangelo. Michelangelo did that, right? Whenever he saw something in the stone, he kind of separated all the other stone that is not that. So in the slab, he saw a figure, and he brought it out by taking it out whatever it is not. See the beauty of it. Then the mind will be very focused, aware, and really the force is actually thought and mind are a um, real force, marvelous force, not just a ordinary. But when you turn it against you, that becomes a source of weakening you. But when you understand this force and use it properly and be yourself without any attributes, then that mind is very focused and strengthened, because it's not distracted by anything. That's what Bruce Lee did. And as I said, J. Krishnamurti helped him to liberate his mind, because Krishnamurti brought about this inner intelligence, he called it, intelligence. I'll tell you a story. A Buddhist monk, he was wanting to ask some question of Krishnamurti, so he traveled, literally, he traveled on foot hundreds of miles. And he comes to Krishnamurti on a day around noon. At morning talks were done, and Krishnamurti was able to go to bathroom, take a bath, and rest for a while, something like that. That he has a lot of respect for these Buddhist monks, right? So he asked him, "Sir, you all want some ask me something, right? That's why you're here." Yeah, monk says, "Yes, sir. I have a question I want to ask you." Customer says, "Sir, before you ask me the question, find out what is that trying to ask a question. Is that yourself, or your, so-called mind and thoughts?" And the Buddhist, he's already used to the meditation. He's already used to lining up in his own self and staying there. But he has a question from his ego, right? From his mind. Then says, yes, sir. My ego is trying to ask me, but my real self is quiet and calm. It knows everything. So then he says, that's it. Just you realize yourself what is that. So even before asking the question, he asked, who is that? Even Ramana Maharshi used to ask people like that. Who is the asking question, right? So then the monk becomes silent and says, yes, sir. Once I landed up in my own self, there is no questioning, there is no asking anything. It's all quiet and nice and all that. But if I want something knowledge about outward things, that's fine, but not about the what is already there for us, right? Then he says, he wanted, okay, sir, you helped me to really get off my riddle. Now I'm going to go. And Krishnamurti says, no, no, sir, don't be hurried. You have traveled a lot of distance. Just stay here for a while and then you can go. So the monk becomes silent for a while. And then he says, sir, I have one more question. And Krishna says, yeah, I'm waiting for you. Ask me, what is the question? And he says, yeah, that was okay. Without me doing anything, just realizing who is asking the question, my mind is quiet. But how do we sustain that? How do we allow it to last longer? Then Krishnamurti says, that's exactly what I know that you're going to ask. But who again is asking this? You went back to your old mind again. And the Buddhist monk says, yes, sir, I see that I don't have to come back to you again. Thank you very much. And he leaves. I hope that illustrates my point. Okay. All right. Uh, Top of the hour, I'll be leaving. Anybody has any questions or comments? This is the chance for you. Okay. Uh, uh, just be aware of the need to reflect, need to calm yourself down, and understand the strength comes from being attentive to everything. Not thinking about thinking all the time, but be attentive to whatever you do. Okay. My mantra: pay attention to every action, complete attention. Then things will be done. After they are done, completely keep quiet. So that is what I try to do. If I'm doing something, I want to give complete attention. And after that is done, next thing comes. I want to give complete attention to that. Then what happens? I will always attentive. Attentive. One action done, finish, and then even talking to like this is good because we reinforce our understanding, our learning, and then bring it to life. Okay, so pay attention to every action in the present. Thank you, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Okay? The proactive wellness series is going, and today we talked about how can we get these apps or mobile apps or tracking devices. So many things I talked about. All these technologies. How do we integrate to bring in the ancient wisdom into whatever we do. So instead of blaming the technology and getting toxic about it, learn the detox apps also there. Use them properly, like I do. Okay, they are tools. Don't make them your dependent on, but also don't let them spoil your mind. Use them and then put them aside. You have a torch, you switch it on, and light is there, and you go safely in a path, and then when it's done, you switch it off like that. But there are so many things. Telehealth I talked about. I talked about remote monitoring. So many things I talked about this morning. If you are interested, go and listen to that, because this gives value of the gadgets we have, the technology we have, and whatever we are serving, we can enhance it. But also protect ourselves from the so-called screen time problems, attention problems. So many things are coming up because of the use of the technology as the savior. Uh, the way I would prefer is, suppose you have problem with your sleep and you are not able to sleep and you're going to be in trouble if you don't sleep properly, you can do the job properly and all. Then you come to me and then you ask me, can you recommend an app that I can use it? Sure, I'll bring in Calm up and tell you, okay, use this to sleep better, to meditate and all. Not meditate, just to sleep better. But I will watch him and also I will make his initial thing to be done so that he can sleep better, go to job. But then next time I come, I will teach him what are the natural ways of getting deeper sleep and what is the path to get off this calm app. Okay, my thing is general instinctive thing is to be natural because I don't need anything to sleep better. Okay, so I just breathe and I just focus on my being, and the mind is calm. Then automatically I slip into. If I do some yogasana, like what is called bird pose, I do shavasana, I do yoga nidra and all that, right? But I don't need to do even 5 minutes. I'm kind of calm and deep breath, and then I slip into a very deep sleep, and then 3 or 4 hours I wake up very energetic. Nobody is up, and 3:30 sometimes, 4:30 sometimes. Then I'll be doing some of the talks and all those things that I want to. Uh, there are spiritual activities that I do. So I'm delighted because nobody is there to disturb me or anything. So that time is very valuable for me. Highest productivity happens there. Okay. Then if he cultivates those kind of non-invasive natural methods that we have in our ancient wisdom, use that, use that, and then develop your own independence from the technology as far as possible. Live naturally, but if you things are out of whack, then use these tools of the modern technology to help you. That's my philosophy. That's what I talked about. I'm very aware of where the technology is going, even the quantum body, even the nutrigenetics, even the genome editing, even the microbiome. I'm very, very aware of that. But I also know not to lose our innate human intelligence, human qualities. Okay. All right. With that, I will stop. It's 7 o'clock already. So thank you for being here. I'll see you then.